Okay, welcome to this next video in your AVID training for here at KWTV News 9. Today we're going to talk about audio, and particularly adjusting audio levels and using audio dissolves to clean up your audio. Now let's talk about the audio dissolves for a second. When you have a sequence such as this one and you don't have any audio adjustments, what can happen is you can get between audio, if there's no fading in and out, you can get some popping noises, and it doesn't sound very good. So what we want to do is we want to clean up our audio, and so we're going to do that. This is a finished story that I have actually taken off the dissolves. I messed up some audio on purpose just so we can see how we're going to fix everything. Now, what you're going to need here for audio is here your audio mixer. And so when I set up your laptops, I'll have it set up just like this, and you'll have the workspace saved so you can bring it up. But if you have your layout differently, just understand that what you'll need is, of course, the timeline, and you need the audio mixer. That's all you're going to need for this. So we're going to take a look at this story. We're going to listen to the stand-up.
Crews have picked up more than 20,000 tons of debris.
Now take a look over here on the left side. See how the levels are. And really we want to peak at +3. We don't really want to go above +3. If it's slightly above, that's okay. But now we get into the B-roll. Look how loud the B-roll is on channel 2 compared to our track on channel 3. So a lot of noise, you can't really understand what's going on. So we need to fix that audio. Stand up looks pretty good. It's slightly above, and we're at -5. So we could go -5.5 if we wanted to clean it up a little bit. And that's about right. Let's go to the tag.
News 9 app.
And that's too loud, so that needs fixed. So we're going to go 5.5. Now you can either drag the slider with the mouse, or you can just click in here and you can type in your amount and make adjustments. I prefer to type in the amounts. That sounds about right. So now let's go to our soundbite. Let's fix it next.
We try to make sure everything is...
And it's peaking right about +3, so that sounds pretty good. So now what we have here is we're going to check our NATS, which is channel 2. We're going to check the reporter track, which is channel 3. Now as you check these, one thing you can do is over here on the right, you'll see where my mouse is right here. There's a little S and there's an M on each track. S means solo. It means if I click that, that track is the only track I'm going to hear when I hit play. Not going to hear anything else. If I click M, it is muting that track and I hear everything else. So for editing purposes, once you get used to it, you don't really need to use these, but in the short term for today, since we kind of know where our levels need to be for our voice track, let's solo the voice track, which is track 3, and let's make sure we have that level correct.
Piles of debris need to be placed in open areas.
And it's peaking a little high over here on track 3, the first part. So it's -2.1, let's go -3.
In open areas, the city says don't put debris near meters.
And that's not bad.
Need to be placed in open areas.
That's a little high, so -3.5.
Yes. The city says
The second version of the track sounds good.
Keep leaves from being mixed in. Michael Gilliland with Pride and Dixon.
That's hot, so we're going to go, we'll go 0 because that was plus.
Trucking and Tree Services says
That's a little low, so let's go +2.
Tree Services says there's a lot more
And that's
work
peaking
here,
about, it's
and
peaked a little bit hot there at one point, so -2.5.
main goal is to not destroy anyone's property.
And that's peaking at about the +3, that's where we want it. So let's go to this last version right here. This is our reporter track as well. So let's check that.
Continue treating the roads to
And it's a little hot, so we're going to go 0.
prepare for more snow coming into the area.
That sounds really good. So now we've gone through and we've fixed channel 1 and we've fixed channel 3. I'm going to turn off the little solo icon. Now I can hear everything. Now the last thing we need to fix is our NAT track. This is our natural sound coming from our camera, and it is on channel 2. If you remember from a previous training video, Channel 1 is sound on tape, interviews, stand-ups, etc. Channel 2 is our natural sound. Channel 3 is our reporter track. So now let's listen to the natural sound track.
The process. Piles of debris need to be placed in open areas.
Now look over here at our meters. We know channel 2 is NATS. And let's play that again. Look how much hotter that is than our reporter track. As a rule of thumb, unless you're bringing up NATS full to hear something before going to a track, you kind of want your NAT track to be half, maybe a little half of what your sound on tape or your voice track is. So in this case, we kind of want to peak at about -11. So if we play that, that's really hot. So we're going to go -15. And that's still a little hot. So we're going to do -20. That's about right. So that first track hit, we've got -20 is hitting about right. So we're going to go to the next one, and we're just going to go ahead and make it -20 and see if that works.
He says don't put debris near meters and keep leaves from being
And that's not bad. So the next one we'll do -20.
mixed in. Michael Gilliland with pride and dignity.
Now you can hear somebody talking in that briefly, so we're actually going to have to bring that down lower so that when that person talks you don't hear it. We'll go to -20 again.
There's a lot more work to be done.
And -20 again.
And their main goal is to not destroy anyone's
And that sounds about right. And if we listen to the whole thing, we've got, we now have our levels complete. So we're good with the levels. So now that we have all of our levels complete, before we're ready to send this thing to the show for playback, now we want to add those audio dissolves just to make it smooth transition from audio to audio. And so the rule of thumb here, the best thing to do is your channel 1 and channel 3, you should have 2 frame dissolves in between all these. And the way you can add to all is if we turn off all the tracks except audio 1 and audio 3, we put an in point, IN, or I on the keyboard, just before the first audio edit. And we're going to go to the end and we're going to put an out point, or O, on the keyboard, just past the last audio edit. And you see it highlighted tracks 1 and 3. Now we're going to go up here, and on the top of the timeline there's this little icon called Quick Transition. You click on that and this box will open up. Right now it's 30 frames centered. So 15 frames on either side, that's too much. But since it's highlighted, all you need to do is hit 2 and see it's 2 frames, 1 frame before the cut, so it's 2 frames centered. We click Apply All Transitions, Add and Render. Oh, and on the top, Dissolve, because that's what we're doing, is dissolving center on cut. Add and Render. And then if we clear our in and out point, which is G, you'll see these little pink icons at each edit point, and those are 2 frame dissolves. Now, what you want to do with your NAT tracks is do the same thing. So we're going to turn on channel 2 and turn off everything else. And just before the first edit point in track 2, we're going to put an in point, or I, on the keyboard, go to the end and put an out point, or O, on the keyboard, and you see how it's highlighted track 2. Now what we want to do is go back to that quick transition, and instead of 2 frames, we want 10, 5 on either side. So it's going to dissolve center cut between the different audios. It's going to dissolve in and out, and it will eliminate any popping. We're going to apply all. And now if I had edited the first frame of video, we may get an error pop up. In this case, we did not. But sometimes you'll say not enough room on either end, and you just click OK, and AVID will make its own adjustment. So now we fixed all of our audio, and now we have all the audio transitions.
Or you can do to speed up the process. Piles of debris need to be placed in open areas. The city says don't put debris near meters and keep leaves from being mixed in.
So that sounds pretty good. So now we're done. We've adjusted our audio, and we're ready to send it to the show. The only other suggestion would be if, let's say, you wanted to do a NAT pop, but let me give you a good example here for a NAT pop. So let's say right here at the beginning, we want to start with NATS. So what I'm going to do, and you can ignore this for now, but I'm just going to take out these audio dissolves that I had put in. I'm going to click in the center because I need to add a little bit of time here. I'm going to right click and I'm going to go add filler at position. And it just added about a second there. So let's say that I want NATS to play before that track starts. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to extend this back, which is I, and then I'll hit P. I've got video 1 and audio 2 turned on. I hit P, and now you'll see that there's a little bit of a gap between the end of the SOT on track 1 and the reporter track on track 2. And if we play it, you hear it like it immediately starts. The NATS immediately start. I'm not sure if you can hear it on this wireless, but the NATS just start immediately. There's like no transition. So if you're starting with NATS, a good thing to do is we are going to go ahead and in tracks 1 and 3, we're going to go ahead and add our dissolves back. 2 frames, apply all. But now, because we are going to start with NATS coming out of a stand-up, instead of centering this with 10 frames, what we're going to do is we're going to go 10 frames, but we are going to pull this to the left and we are going to dissolve in to that NAT hit. So we are now no longer centered, we're all the way to the left because we want to fade into it. And we'll click add. And if you notice down here on the timeline, the NAT is going to start earlier. The NAT is going to start underneath the tail end of her stand-up, so it's going to dissolve in.
To speed up the process.
So it's not just it's not there and then the next frame it's there. It's a dissolve in. It's a very clear dissolve in. And then what you would do is at this point where the NAT, you want that NAT louder because it's your main track. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to split this audio track, track 2. I've turned everything off except track 2, and I am right here at the point where the sound bites or the reporter track is going to start, and I'm going to hit H. And what that did was it split this audio track. So I'm going to get this little blue line on top of the NAT hit, and I'm going to go over here where I have -20, and I'm actually going to make that a 0, and I want to hear this. That's kind of loud. So I'm going to go, let's say -5. But let's listen to it. But now you notice it fades in and it sounds really good, but then at that cut point, it's like instant dropout. And we kind of want it to fade out. So at that point, we'll control click to get over top that. We're going to go to our center again, and we're going to do the 10 frames centered, and we're going to add that. So now we're dissolving in underneath the tail end of the look live, full, and then we're going to dissolve down to our normal level as the track starts. And what that sounds like, I'm going to turn this up so you can hear it. It's going to be loud. Is what it sounds like is this.
Down their progress, but there's more you can do to speed up the process. Piles of debris need to be...
And actually, I'm going to turn this back on mono so you can hear it even better.
More you can do to speed up the process. Piles of debris need to be placed in open areas.
And so that sounds pretty good. So we've dissolved in, and we've got NATS full, and then we dissolve down the NATS as the track starts. So everything sounds good. At that point, we are ready to send this to the show once we have all this highlighted and turned on. So this package is done, audio is fixed, and we are ready to move on and send our story to the show.